be live any minute now.
That's right.
You'll be able to see our faces. We're really excited.
Like, you want to see if I was alive?
I want to make sure that you looked all right before the cameras turn on, and I want to make sure Xavier's looking
the mustache comb
looking halfway decent today. But it's going to be an exciting show. We're going to have a set of local artisans.
We have a lot of creativity in this room already.
A lot of creativity. Xavier and I are going to really be, our mathematical brains are going to be blown away by this by this creativity. Right. At 10:30, we're going to have Kate Thomas. She is a local artist. And then at 10:50, we're going to have Daniel and Alisa Fortich. They're the owners of Fortich Leather Goods.
Okay.
So definitely two sets of fantastic local artisans joining us today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I know that Xavier definitely has some things on his mind.
Always.
You always have things on your mind. As those
it's the
who
early
watch,
morning thing, too.
Exactly. Well, plus, as those who see you on Twitter now know very well, there's always a lot of financial matter going through those brain cells.
That's right.
Out there.
Something underlying there in those tweets, right?
Exactly.
What is he really trying to say?
I'm always trying to figure it out. Even your questions when I'm on Jerry's show.
What's
on the I Love Sivo show, I'm saying, what is
this a trap?
Is this a trick question? Jerry doesn't ask me trick questions, but my own father does.
God, he asks you real tough questions. That was easy on you.
Tough questions. Jerry has tough questions, but no questions that I'm like, what is he really getting at here? What's the secret meaning?
Okay, well, I think we're going to go soon here.
I think we're ready to share, let everyone know what's going on. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're really excited to have you join us today for today's show. As always, we are presented by Emergent Financial Services. We are powered by Cristel Noel State Farm, and we are partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. And as always, we are live on the I Love Seville network.
That's right.
And on the I Love Seville set, which we love.
This is a great set.
It's such a fantastic
There's love
set.
everywhere here.
There's just so much love, so much excitement always here on the set. It's going to be a fantastic show that we have for you today. A lot of local artisans.
Yes.
We're going to have Kate Thomas at 10:30. She's a local artist here in Charlottesville. Just so many beautiful things. I was looking at the pictures that Nick was sending me.
I see some from here. I mean,
that's going to be fantastic. So you'll be able to see them firsthand here on the show. And then at 10:50, we're going to be joined by Daniel and Alisa Fortich. They are the owners of Fortich, producing amazing leather goods. That I was looking at them on Etsy. And they're very, very impressive goods, and a lot of them are personalized. So
no, it's unbelievable. You see what people can produce, and you say, "Wow, how do they do that?"
It's so amazing. It still amazes me.
It's
as someone who we typically work maybe with some of the gray cells,
with the gray cells,
and the math, just what people can do with their hands, and just the images that they're able to create is amazing. So we're going to have a lot of that for you today. But of course, to start, as always, we have our economic topic, but in this case, there's a lot going on. It seems like there's always more news coming through on the markets. Just today, a lot of news coming through about whether it's the unemployment rate. Did more people, jobless claims in particular,
right.
Did more people apply for jobless claims than expected? What's inflation going to do? I even saw, as usual, you go onto the financial websites and there's always the contrarian article, so it says, watch out for deflation. And I'm like, here we go. You've already got the guys that are out there saying.
It's amazing. And I've said this a million times. I walk in the morning and it's just a barrage of articles and information that gets hit you. And, if you haven't had your coffee, that'll wake you up quickly anyway. At least if you're in finance like we are, right? Other people's like, this is just, more news. But I thought it was interesting today, because if you look at the bond market, and of course I love the bond market. I grew up with the bond market. Not that I don't love stocks. They produce great returns.
But your first love was
bonds are math, right? So it's easy. But the way I look at it, so you get up this morning, I look at the market, and the market's it's roaring, right? So bonds are roaring, and you say to yourself, okay, typically, when people are afraid of inflation, interest rates begin to rise, right? When the bond market is roaring, that means that prices in bonds are going up, means the yields are coming down. So it doesn't match, right? The expectation that if you're going to have inflation, you would expect interest rates to go up, right? So that you basically keep up with inflation, right? So that you're protected in that sense, right? But it's not happening, right? I mean, you look at the 30-year, 30 years now below 1.9%. So think of mortgages, right? The mortgage rates were already low. They're going to get maybe lower. We haven't seen below 1.9%, I think, since February of this year, right? So think about all that has happened this year with regard to the inflation scare. So
and
the
yet
question,
we're back where we were in February in terms of interest rates.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so the question is it that the investor has put aside the inflation fear, or is it something else? And I guess the other issue that we have, and one of the things that also came out was, as we know, the Fed has already said, we're not worried about 2% inflation or higher for now, right? I mean, we want inflation.
Not even that. They're not worried about an average of 2% inflation.
That's right,
so what they're really saying is that if it's 0 1 month, we're happy with 4 the next.
Exactly. And that's what we've seen, right? So now the ECB, the European Community Bank, right, central bank, European Central Bank, basically came out and said the same thing. So now we have 2 major central banks in the world saying the exact same thing, meaning we're not concerned about inflation because we want the economies to get going. And we've talked about this before. When you look at the global economy, right, who's the only country that truly is doing better than maybe...
In terms of growth.
Better than what maybe some people expected. I thought we'd be doing better already, but nevertheless, better than I think some people expected. It's the United States. Everybody else is just really struggling. Right now, news is coming out with the new COVID variants. Is that going to create another slowdown in the economy? So I think all of this is creating the narrative that the central banks around the world are not going to shut off the spigot. They're going to continue to pump money into the system because they're afraid. They're afraid that the economies around the globe are now going to pick up as fast as they would have hoped, right? So
when you see this, and in particular how the bond market is reacting, is that basically telling you bond market investors are sitting here saying this inflation is not going to last, or they're sitting here saying, I don't care about this inflation? I mean, are there so few people left in bonds that they're all saying, well, my stocks are going to do fine, so I don't care about inflation? Or is the bond market telling us the people investing in bonds are saying, I don't really care? I mean, I don't believe that this is going to last, that this is a temporary blip, and we may be looking at low inflation again in the near future.
So the one little kind of dirty secret that people don't understand about bonds is that bonds can have a total return, right? So in other words, if you buy a 30-year at 2% and it goes down to 1.9%, you've got a nice return in bonds. In other words, you may have already about a 4 or 5% return in the bonds. So if it goes down a little more, you can have 5-10% return in bonds. So the institutional investor, the people that play in the bond market deeply, look at this and saying, there is no way that any central bank around the globe right now is going to raise rates, right? And 2, we just don't believe that inflation is going to get out of hand so quickly that they're going to be forced to raise rates. So as a result, if I'm seeing a 2% 30-year, and I think it's going to go down to 1.5%, then I'm selling stocks and I'm buying that 30-year bond because from 2% to 1.5%, I've got a great return, right? So that game is being played in the institutional marketplace, right? And second of all, you look at the relative yields of other countries to the United States, and the United States is the largest bond market in the world, the safest bond market in the world, the largest economy in the world, and yet our interest rates are higher than basically, almost every single country in Europe. And I talked about this before. You got a 10-year Greek bond that is yielding less than a 10-year U.S. bond. Well, unless you're a Greek guy, right? Why am I buying that, right? Why am I buying a 10-year Greek? Because you sit there and say,
exactly. Who's more likely to pay me back, the United States
exactly.
or Greece?
Yeah, we've seen that story
We've seen
right?
this movie before.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you sit there and say, and who's paying me more? The United States. So why on earth would you buy the
So I think there's been a shift, right, towards that and saying these yields just don't make any sense for the U.S. economy right now, for the U.S. interest rates. And I think people have just said, I'm buying, right? And without any doubt, I mean, the stock market the last 2 days haven't done very well. It didn't open up very well today. So you're seeing that. You're seeing the shift, a quick shift, right, from stocks to bonds, right? And, these are all investors that play that particular game. A normal retail person can't play in that game.
That was going to be my next question, because the average person out there who's thinking of saving and investing is not sitting there saying, how do I get into the bond market to try to get a quick return, because I think interest rates are going from 2 to 1.5, and then going and buying 30-year treasury bonds to try to capture that total return. So, but unfortunately, that means that the average person then is going there and saying, typically when the average person is going to buy bonds, you're looking at the yield. You're not looking at total return. What can I buy and sell this bond?
And that's the right move.
And yields are very low. So what would your advice be? What should the average person be looking at?
So this is a perfect example, right? So it's a perfect example of a diversified portfolio, because if you have a diversified portfolio where you have some bonds in your portfolio and you have a variety of stocks, right? Different types of stock, growth stocks, value stocks, small cap stocks. When you have a diversified portfolio, you're going to see the ups and the downs. But the beauty of, and we talked also about asset allocation, when you have a situation where the bonds are going up and the stock and the market's going down, and the market needs to go down a little bit, right? I mean, in essence, there's nothing wrong with the stock market going down, having a 5%, 10% correction. It gives you the opportunity, right? When you talked about this on Jerry's show, if you have $1,000 to spend, do I want to buy just one shot, or do I want to say I'm going to put 1/3 today, 1/3 maybe 2 weeks from now, 1/3 4 weeks from now, right? So if you are able to do that, or if you're willing to do that, or you're in a 401k where every single paycheck they take a little bit out, well, being able to invest in a market that now it's dropped 10% is great. It's an opportunity to buy a little cheaper, right? And over time, it's going to go up. So it's having that type of diversified portfolio is perfect. Sometimes you take a look at your portfolio, say it's become out of whack. Bonds are up too much. Stocks are down. Maybe I shift some from bonds to stocks.
And automatically, that means you are selling bonds high.
That's right.
And you are buying stocks low. Because the moment that's getting out of whack and you have too high a percentage in bonds because the stock market has declined, well, that's telling you that when you make that shift, you're not going to be selling bonds high and buying stocks low, which is exactly what you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, these are all opportunities. The way I look at them, when the market's extremely volatile, it's opportunities to take advantage of something that's going on that is probably going to be temporary, right? And then move on. Let your portfolio do its job, which is to grow over different market cycles, right?
Exactly. And I think maybe one of the big lessons, even just from what the institutions are telling us by being in bonds, is I think sometimes we have a tendency to look at the headline and have it scare us into paralysis. So you look at it and say, oh my goodness, inflation is at 5%. This is scary. I'm not going to do anything. I don't want to take any chances. But what the institutions are telling us is they're looking at this and saying this is an opportunity.
That's right.
There's something out of whack here. There's a 5% inflation, but the central banks are not doing anything. Rather than looking at this as a reason to do nothing, the institutional bond market investors are saying this is an opportunity for me to make some money. And even though the individual retail investor out there, you're not going to do the same thing. You're not going to invest in 30-year bonds hoping that interest rates go down so that you can go and flip them. You have to sort of have the same mindset and say, I can't be scared away by this inflation number. I have to look at this. Everything is an opportunity, right? It doesn't mean that you just abandon your diversified portfolio, but it means this is an opportunity for my diversified portfolio to work, to go to work and do what it's supposed to do.
And in essence, I mean, that's what you and I do for a living, right? I mean, it's what we live for to a certain respect. We get excited over this, but I mean, the normal person, what we say is don't panic, right? Because panicking is always the wrong move. The right move is just sit back, see what's going on. And again, diversification, just like everything else, is the key, all right, to a long-term success.
Exactly.
That's just the bottom line.
It's the classic, I've probably said this before on the show, but it's the classic, It's a Wonderful Life, where there's the run of the bank.
That's right.
And Jimmy Stewart is like, Mr. Potter's not, he's not selling, Mr. Potter's buying.
That's
but
right.
why? Because we're panicking and he's not.
Exactly.
So you always never panic.
That's
because
right.
Mr. Potter's not selling,
right.
Mr. Potter's buying. And you want to be buying too.
Exactly.
Which is the key to do it.
That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Not panicking. Not
Exactly.
panicking. Yeah,
Not
that's
panicking
the
and
lesson
just-
from that movie.
It is the big
Is that the only
lesson.
lesson from that movie?
Not the only one,
Okay.
but it is in finance. I mean, it's probably like having friends is probably a very important lesson from
That's
that
right.
movie. But in finance,
And an angel. I mean,
And
it's-
exactly.
that's my favorite part.
No man
of
is
the
a
movie.
failure who has
That's right.
friends. But from a finance perspective, Mr. Potter's buying.
Exactly.
Is your Tater way. The Alex and Xavier Tater from It's a Wonderful Life. Bye. Bye.
That's right.
A good topic as always to start us off right now. We get to switch.
Oh no.
We
Yeah.
get to pull a nice, beautiful
Now
brain
we get to
switch.
the other side of the brain.
We go
yeah.
to the other side of the brain and just the beauty of art. I mean, I have to admit this appeals to me as someone who loves writing. This appeals to me very much. Also, we're really excited to be joined today by Tate Thomas, who is a local artist here in Charlottesville. Tate, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's really exciting to have you. And I see you've brought
Yeah, I see him
some
from
of
here.
your beautiful artwork
Beautiful artwork.
for our viewers to look at.
I did. I brought just a couple little ones that I have.
To go ahead and, as you're showing them to us, tell us a little bit about like how long you've had a love of painting and art and how you
Sure.
got into this and as an entrepreneur.
Sure. Yeah. So I was homeschooled in high school and got the opportunity to study under. I'll hold them up higher.
Yep,
Here's
hold
just
them up
a little
right there.
mountainscape. I'll let you peek at that. And then here's like a little kind of abstract landscape, a little colorful. So I was homeschooled in high school and had the opportunity to study under a woman who was just a phenomenal artist. And I was not a big fan of being homeschooled, but this was like my saving grace because I got to spend a lot of time doing art and got like a really great education through that. And then I went on to study fine art in college. But then I got married and, had a couple babies and kind of slipped off the painting wagon for a bit. And then about 10 years ago, my dad passed away. And that was really hard. And he was kind of like my champion. Like he was kind of like you can do this. And I would always be like, Dad, I can't do it, I'm not good enough. So I kind of had his voice just kind of hanging out in my head. And that teacher from high school had invited me to do a show with her. She was doing a retrospective show. And she wanted to highlight that part of her career as an artist was kind of passing on her knowledge to other students.
Right.
So I reluctantly said yes and painted a series and ended up selling out at that show.
Wow.
And so it was kind of like, oh,
Wow.
maybe I could do this.
Amazing.
Talk about encouragement.
Yeah, so it's kind of been, that was just almost exactly 10 years ago. So I've just been going with it ever since. It was, I had 3 little babies, so it was very part-time at the beginning, but it's now a full-time thing. So.
Amazing. So I'm always curious, how do you paint? Is that watercolor, oil, acrylic? I'm always curious.
Sure, yeah. My medium of choice is watercolor.
Watercolor.
It's a little
I love
bit different.
watercolor.
You typically see watercolor on paper, but I'm doing watercolor on stretched canvas. It's prepared differently. So it has a different look than what you normally see. You normally see it on paper behind glass. This lets me, these are little, I'm a big fan of painting big. If you come to my studio, there's a lot of big stuff in there, and I love that I can stretch the canvas big. I don't have to worry about glass or anything like that.
Is there an advantage to canvas versus paper?
To me, there is, but that would, it's up to the artist. Paper
Okay.
has to go behind glass.
Okay.
So
All right.
traveling, doing shows, all of that is easier to not have to worry about glass.
Sure.
But it's also just a different look aesthetically. It's just kind of what you like. There's a give when I'm painting, so to me it feels better. I like a little bit of that bounce on the canvas
Okay.
as opposed to paper.
That's so interesting.
Interesting, yeah. I would
Even
never-
the
yeah.
process
Yeah.
itself
Exactly.
determine the medium. Oh, you have some big fans and comments here already. Erica Lyra Mitchell says, "We're excited to see Tate Thomas art. She created a beautiful painting for our family as a commissioned piece, and we will treasure it for generations."
Aw,
Thanks
hi,
for
Erica.
watching, Erica. Sean Michael just says, "Tate Thomas," with exclamation point. So I guess he's a big fan. And Nicholas actually has a question for you. He wants to know, would love to hear about some of Tate's influences in painting and how she developed her really unique style of landscape and abstract. It's inspiring. So what were some of your influences for your style, would you say?
Sure, that's a great question. I was trained very classically, so it was always tightening up, chiaroscuro, still lifes, shadow, light, all that stuff. And when I got to college, I really wrestled with, I was very drawn to people like Helen Frankenthaler and people who were doing like large scale abstract stuff, and I felt like, how in the world could I even head in that direction? So part of it, the canvas has helped me with that. And just not having to be graded on things was a big shift for me, just being able to freely. So I think I've kind of, at this point, landed somewhere in the middle of having that technical background and knowing how to actually paint realistically, but then moving towards abstraction.
Okay.
I'm a feeler. I'm your classic artist, emotional and all that. So I want to put a lot of feeling into it. I really love to pull on nostalgia, and I think when things are a little bit abstracted, it lets people kind of have room to pull on their own emotions, room to kind of sit with it. Yeah.
So when you approach painting, as opposed to somebody saying, paint this for me, but you do it yourself, do you have an idea as to what you want to paint, or do you kind of sit in front of that canvas and say, let me see what happens? I'm just curious.
Well, that depends on what cycle I'm in. I feel like I cycle all the time. So there are times where I lay in bed at night and I can't sleep because I have a billion ideas for paintings.
Okay.
And it's like I have to narrow that down and pick what direction I'm going to go in. And then there are other times that I go into the studio and I stare at the canvas and I'm like, what is going on? I can't figure out what to paint. So I kind of cycle through things. But I've got my notes on my phone has like a whole lot of my ideas. And so I can always kind of pull back to that. But,
That's interesting. So this I've always wondered, because I love to write, and one of the challenge I'll often have when I write and think about publishing short stories is the temptation to be, do I just sit down and say, I don't care what the literary magazines are looking for, I'm going to write the story exactly as I want, and if it's not their style, it's not their style. So as someone who you're an artist, but you're also an entrepreneur, because you sell your art, how do you balance, I guess, the idea of I'm going to paint what I want to paint in the way I want to paint it versus maybe the temptation of what's selling, like what might people actually be. So how do you manage the customers with the fact that you're an artist and you have the ideas that are inside you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's the intersection of business and creativity. It's I have found that I really like hanging out in that intersection. It was very daunting at first, but the more I've done business, the more I really just enjoy it and enjoy figuring it out. I think there's the balance of everything that I create needs to come from a genuine place for me. I need to feel like it was genuine. I don't ever want to force anything. But at the same time, there are things that, like I said, that list, there are things that are much further down the abstraction road that I would like to move into, but I feel like if you want to keep making money, you got to keep doing. But I love painting. There's no way that I would thrive at a 9-to-5. This is what I love to do. I want to be painting. And so I'm painting things that I love while also introducing things that I'm curious about. So I guess maybe that's the difference, is the things that I love, I always love a landscape. I always love a good floral. And I'll paint those forever because I love them.
Right.
But there are things that I'm curious about. And I feel like I can kind of slide those curiosities in there and watch what my client base, how they react to it, what their feedback is. I'm big on just asking people what they think and, popping stuff on my Instagram stories and doing polls and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, the number one is to stay kind of authentic and genuine in what I'm doing, because I know that I'm not going to be happy if I stray from that.
That makes sense.
But I guess, so going back to your point, it is a little different writing versus something that is visual, right? Because in the writing, first of all, you write something. It's not like you have you have people come in and read your stories and see which one they like and they buy, right? You have to send it to somebody, and then it becomes somewhat subjective, that one person, whether they
Makes a
like it or not,
decision.
right?
Right.
As opposed to in the art world, right? She has her, I guess, her
Portfolio.
talents, and then she tries to blend a little bit maybe into like, will this sell or not? But it's kind of perfect. It's like, I know that people will buy this, right? So I can create this, and it's still, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also introducing this part. And now you have whatever, 20, 30, 40, 100 people come in and look at it, and if there's that one person that says, wow, that's really what I like, right? In the story writing, that doesn't happen because it's one person reading
Right.
it,
That is
and
true.
you're,
That's
and
a
it's
good-
right. So it's
Right.
just a little different. So I think
And
if you,
I think that's a big reason why I've kind of built this business on my own and I'm selling on my own. I have a studio where I invite people into. I do I host my own shows because there is that element when you're applying to shows or applying to galleries or wanting somebody of a different company coming to you. They are being very critical and they are looking at it and they're getting tons of applications. It's the other thing with writing. You're in there with a stack with a bunch of other
Thousands
authors.
of people.
And it's the same thing for painters.
Sure.
There's a ton of, and they're getting a digital image that they're looking at and saying yes or no, and that's a lot of pressure. And I definitely do pursue those things, but doing my business this way also, there's a market for it. There's so many people out there and so many different niches out there that you're always going to find somebody that likes your work. Just got to find them.
Find it. So what would you say on that vein? So how do you? I've always been curious. How do you market yourself as an artist? What are some mediums you use or ways that you? I guess one of them is the fact that you have your own studio to which you invite people in, which seems
Sure.
I like that idea very much. The
Sure, of
entrepreneur
course,
in me
it's
is like that's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
But what are some other methods that you use? To get
Sure.
your
So
work
I
out
mean,
there?
I'm big on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Every show that I do, like if I pop up, like I just did the Crozet Art Festival, if I pop up there, I try to get emails, do a giveaway to get an email, start building that way, connect with them right away. The other thing that I love, it's a really great funnel, is classes. It's a really great way to connect with my people and actually invite them into the creativity, teach them how to paint. I mean, we have like a lot of fun.
Also, you'll
for
give classes.
Yeah, yep. And then a lot of times those people come back for more classes, or a lot of times they end up buying my work, which is fun too. I mean, it's just, my favorite part of the classes is just the connection of it. But that has helped with, and then just word of mouth. Like if you come and I do a commission for you and you've got something you're really excited about and it's hanging over your mantle and you've got a dinner party and all of your friends are asking, like there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens where it's just word of mouth. I get calls all the time. And then here, most recently, I'm in the Scout Guide right now, and that's been a really great way to reach people as well.
Amazing. That's
just, it's
funny.
just,
You have a good grasp, like an entrepreneurial. Do you enjoy the entrepreneur
I do,
part
I
as
really
well? I
do.
can tell you
Yeah.
enjoy that along with the art.
I do. My husband's an entrepreneur too, so I've learned a lot from him, and we kind of like geek out about it and talk a lot about it.
That is fun. Now, before we let you go, so where can people find you?
Sure.
In addition to
So
on Instagram, but also your studio.
Sure. Instagram, Facebook, KateThomasArt.com, just real simple and easy. And then my studio is out in Ivy. It's really close to Duners. We live out that way, so it's nice and close to home. I've got 3 little kids, so yep.
So not far.
a lot of scenery out there too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a lot of
Yep.
inspiration, I
Yep.
would imagine. And now, does it have hours that it is open for people to walk in, or do you have just certain events
No,
there?
I have certain events. Like I'll host open studios. Like I just had one last Saturday. I had some open hours. But I am in there most days painting. I just, flexibility of taking kids places and stuff. So email or text, and I'll meet you up there.
Absolutely, and keep an eye out, I guess, for events that happen there.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
right.
Be sure at
absolutely.
KateThomasArt.com.
Yep.
And then, of course, Facebook and Instagram, which you can, if you're watching the show live, you'll see Kate is tagged before and after the show, so you'll be able to make the connection there. Yeah. Kate, this has been so much fun.
Yeah,
this has been
thank you
great.
so much for
Thank you.
having me.
That was
Art
beautiful,
and
beautiful
interview.
artwork.
It's,
Yeah,
this
thank
was
you.
really
I'm
good.
always
Thanks so
jealous of
much.
people that can do things like that because I tried, and it's like, phew.
Well, I'm the opposite. You guys are talking. I'm like, oh, it's like a foreign language. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you,
glad
Kate.
To have you on.
Yeah.
That was a lot
That
of
was
fun.
good. That was good. Yeah, no, listen, I part of what I enjoy is watching, when people come in and especially when they can display their art.
Exactly. And when they have
it is
just
it's
passion
amazing.
for
Oh,
it,
you can see the passion.
It comes through so
And it's nice to see
beautifully.
people that actually, have passion for what they love. They're creative, and they're also able to survive doing a business out of it, right?
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of people that, they're artists and just can't survive.
It's the combination, I think, of the entrepreneurship and the
Yes.
art, like because you blend them both together, and I think it also helps because there's a certain creativity in entrepreneurship to think of new
sure.
ways to. I mean, that's
Right.
a very clever, it seems to me, way to go about it. Is like, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and be my own studio.
Exactly.
I'm not going to rely
Exactly.
on that
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
that one person or that one literary magazine
I'll tell you that-
editor to say yes, this is good, no, this is not good.
The creation of Instagram has to be fantastic for these people because Instagram is all about pictures, right? So I mean, this is just like perfect to be able
It's a
to
medium,
display
you
your
know.
work on Instagram.
Nick, my brother Nick can tell you how much he thrives on Instagram.
You could take a picture of his book and put it on there.
He should do that. I don't know why he hasn't done that yet.
Because I'm the marketing guy. I know how to do these
Guy,
things.
you think of these things, and so from one fantastic artist to
Absolutely.
now another
I see
set
it from here.
of
Wow, that
fantastic
is-
artisans. We're really excited to
love
be
that.
joined by Daniel and Elisa Fortit. They're the owners and creators at Fortit, which is leather goods here in Charlottesville. So Daniel, Elisa, so thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, of course, we're excited to have you on. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about how you start your story and how you came to start Fortit.
Right. Probably Alice is a better storyteller.
Go for it, Elisa.
Well, we started about 8 years ago, and it was an overnight success. I think Daniel, he had an idea that he worked with leather, and he had an idea of making the leather more relevant for people, because
Right.
at that time, all the images on leather, they were kind of like Western style, so it didn't appeal to a modern crowd, like younger people. So me as a graphic designer, I always work with images, again, just like Kate. And
Nice.
and he always said, "Oh, how can we convert your images and put them on the leather?" And that's what he did. He took my images.
Wow,
And
look at
created
that.
stamps.
You've made the
Yes.
design, and then Daniel
Yeah.
transfers it to
To
the
leather.
Exactly. And
Now,
like,
then is that like a cover for an organizer or a
this
book?
one is an organizer. Yeah,
Oh,
this
let me
one is
see.
an
Oh.
organizer. Yeah.
That is
Wow,
beautiful.
that is
That is beautiful.
Thank you. And yeah, so first of all, it was like up-to-date images. And then secondly, we thought about customization, personalization. So this is like a name of a person, but it could be a date or, I don't know, a word, a special word, a text or something. So yeah, this one is a very cool one with Monstera pattern
That
leaves.
is neat. And now that's for,
It's
that's
a
for
dog
a dog?
collar, yes,
Ah,
yeah.
For a puppy, you can.
I was trying to.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. So you designed it, I guess, on paper or on the computer. Is that what it is? And then you have to take that design and put it on leather.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
how do you do that?
Well, there is a process in between, of course.
I'm sure that's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out. That's amazing.
Yeah, we mostly use vegetable tan leather, which allows you to stamp, and the stamp stays forever. Because vegetable tan leather is processed differently, so the collagen in it has very firm structure, and you can moisturize it, compress it, and the collagen fiber collapses.
Okay.
But when it dries, it stays collapsed. So that's why you have those impressions. And to achieve that, I developed the way of engraving the image on a piece of plastic, and then you can use that piece of plastic as a stamp for quite a number of times till it wears out.
Okay,
You
so
basically almost stamped an impression on the
Yes.
leather, and then when it dries, it stays there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Daniel, you were just trying to confuse
No,
Alex
it
with
makes
all
sense.
these technical
No.
words
Right,
and
no,
everything.
I love
So
it.
the world of finance
love it.
suddenly is like a completely different thing, right?
No,
we
it's just-
love this.
yeah,
Every
we just
time
try-
we get a new artisan
Yeah.
on. I mean, we had a couple of weeks ago. We had Ian just talking to us the process of making spirits, and he was going.
Right,
He was
yeah.
like, we love
Yeah.
this. We love
No, absolutely. I mean that because you see that on your leather, right? And I'm trying to figure out how does
he
he
do that?
do that, right? I mean, it's creative enough to be the artist and put it again either on a computer or a piece of paper, and then you have to then put it on plastic, get it right, put it on a stamp, and then then go through the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so at first it was a simple stamp. We call them stamps. But then Daniel, he's also into engineering. So he started doing his own machines. And instead of just a single stamp would be not very, it will take a long time.
Yeah, it's not efficient enough.
It's not efficient, yes. He created rollers. So to roll on, like, I mean,
Yeah,
you
I can
talk
tell
about
more about
the
it. So it's basically a process where you have your stamp on a roll. And so basically what machine does, it has two rollers which rotate simultaneously and drag the strap through. The top roller has the same engravings, except it's
Right.
circular. So it's infinite pattern on the strap.
So it's almost like let's say I like cooking. Not that I cook, I like eating, but it's like a pasta machine where you put the pasta
Exactly,
through the
yeah.
rollers, so the rollers are engraved and you
idea, yeah.
pass it through. Okay,
Wow,
that's amazing. That's good.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, how did you get into working with leather in the first place? Like, in your,
Oh,
in your
that's
life?
that's a pretty kind of interesting story. My great grandfather was or used to be a saddle, so basically upholstery and shoemaker.
Okay.
And I was very little, so my memories of him are kind of not that clear, but I remember the smell of vegetable tan leather. And once I came across it, it brought up all of the childhood memories. I was like, oh, I just have to do it. I just have to do it. Because, yeah, the smell, the feel, you just can't replace it with any artificial material, really. There is no way. Not yet, at least, as
They
far as I
haven't-
know.
They haven't figured that.
So
that
did you
part out yet.
did you learn anything from him, or it's just the memory got you?
No,
Okay.
no. It's I learned everything on my own years later. It was like maybe 10 years when I started to be interested in it, and about 8 years since we started to do it full time.
Wow,
So
this-
did you have a teacher, or you just learned by
No,
yourself?
Yeah.
Really, just
That's
by
amazing.
yourself?
Well,
Wow.
it's the way it's the only way which works for me.
Yeah.
Because I can't do like academic studying. I can only just pick the information from the world around me and improve my own skills. I
But that's
guess.
such a neat story. That's like to come back after that time to almost do what your grandfather did,
Yeah.
but in a roundabout way. Like
Yeah.
Right,
it wasn't
yeah, it
passed
is.
down like piece by piece, but just to go back and then suddenly have that memory again.
Yeah.
Since I want to do. I mean, not exactly, because I guess he was doing upholstery.
Yeah,
but
it was
to do
different.
To work
yeah.
with the same material that
Yeah.
he was working with
Yeah.
all those years ago. Wow, that is a fun
Now,
story.
who comes up with the ideas of the different types of leather products? I mean, because that book is beautiful, and so is that. But
It's kind of interesting question. It depends. I'm more technical, and Elisa is more sensitive to what people want, what people like, and we combine those two, and I guess that's how it works.
Well, I see it as Daniel is a creative director, and I'm more a manager in a sense. So, yes, if somebody is saying, okay, so I want a larger organizer with
Okay.
this amount of pockets, and so many customers are asking about it, I'm writing it down, and I'm then telling Daniel, okay, Daniel, so we have these kind of requests, and people are asking a lot about it. And he thinks about it, and he thinks about lines and designs and ideas. So that's mainly like your creativity, actually.
Yeah,
and I'm working
yeah.
with the customers and with people, but also I do the actual images and graphics. And again, because we're always keeping them modern and stylish and fashionable. So that's why contemporary, yeah, that's the right word. That's why I always monitor what's popular right now, what people like what is the market doing and everything.
Right.
It's true, and it's amazing. I know, and when Nick, my brother, showed me your website, you have some fantastic pictures of your.
Thank you.
Is that you? You take you're the photographer.
Yes.
There, you do this excellent job with the marketing in terms of like really showing off the leather goods. Do you have a background in photography, or you just sort of picked it up?
Yes. I used to have my own little studio back in Great Britain, where we used to live at some point. So yes, I'm a photographer as well. And that's my big passion, and I love taking images.
So for Great Britain. So you were where were you originally from? I think Nick mentioned.
Yeah, well, originally we are from Russia.
That's the accent.
I was born and raised in Siberia, and Alisa is from kind of in between Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Boring area.
Yeah.
Like boring, nothing interesting.
But it makes for a very interesting story about the time
Certainly
you
does,
were
yes.
in Charlottesville. So I'm curious what brought you to Charlottesville.
how'd you get here?
Oh, that's a funny story. We were about to buy a house, and we started to do some research. Went to different cities and
Like Austin, Texas.
well, yeah,
Why not?
kind of. And came across top 10 happiest towns to raise the family, right? And
I think it was in Washington Post.
maybe. I don't remember.
Like an
but
article in
it
Washington.
was like number 6 on the list, and we were like,
Was it number 6?
Yeah, it was 6.
Oh gosh.
It wasn't.
Okay. I thought it was in top 1.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Well.
It won't make clear it was the top one.
We still love it. No, we still love it. Yeah, it's on the top 10 on our list.
Yes, and we asked people before moving here. We had some friends already living here, so we asked, so what do you think about the place? And they were just raving about Charlottesville. They were like the food, the music, the mountains, like being close to DC and the ocean, like you have everything. So, yeah, we made the choice and we never regretted it. We love living here. It's such a wonderful, unique place.
So
one of a kind.
how long have you been in Charlottesville?
6 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Amazing. And so now, would you say most of your customers are local, or do you, because it's on Etsy, are you basically across the globe?
Well, yeah, we used to be more international before the shipping rates were raised like several years ago. But now it's, national, pretty much.
It's all over United States, mainly California area, so kind of that area, Colorado, California, Portland, New York, Florida. So these are our main states that our customers
Definitely
live
the places
there.
I think where the style, the modern style is very appealing.
That's
I would
right.
imagine.
But you know what? That's why I'm so happy to be here with you today, because we love our local customers and we want to be connected, and we have so much fun stuff. Come and see us.
You do have a lot of things. And that's exactly why we're here, to make sure
Absolutely.
people in Charlottesville.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have to confess, until Nick showed me, I didn't know
No,
you guys were
yeah,
here.
this is
I
great.
And I probably passed you by on Etsy, but looking through, handmade goods and things, and I never would have guessed, oh, they're here in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
It's good to know. I have a question, because I have so on those type of leather goods, if you get it wet, does it damage the leather also?
No, it doesn't damage the leather itself. It could damage the the top coat finish, or
Okay.
it could stain it because we use water stains. They are pretty color fast, but still, leather is a porous material, and
Exactly.
you want it to be porous, to be pliable and flexible.
Right, right. Now, is there a way to take care of it? Is it
Oh, yeah.
specific
Oh,
oils
yeah,
that you're
many,
supposed to
many
put
ways.
on? Okay.
Well, not we put a special top coat on it, which is flexible and durable enough, so there is not much care on the top needed.
Okay.
If you want to make it softer, you can put some cream on the flash side, and also kind of condition the leather.
Okay. Okay.
But this is a very good question. Yes, because some people are afraid to use real leather items because, they can be damaged by the rain easily. But what we do is we apply the stain first,
Right.
and then we apply water-resistant varnish, just to help if it's
Yeah.
like raining or
Yeah.
something like that. But because it's real leather still, a dog really is not supposed to swim in it. So yeah, we always advise our customers take it off before swimming.
Of course, of
But
course.
rain is fine.
Well, the collars in particular, we use pasted leather on the back, so it's actually completely sealed from the flash side, and the flash side is more absorbent than the top. Also, the reason why it's not a good idea to use it in water, because when it's wet, once again, it stretches, it's soft.
That's right.
It's like, so you can lose your collar if you leave it on a dog and the dog swims,
Yeah.
So that's why it's not, but once it dries, it's fine again.
Amazing. That's amazing.
If it wasn't
Yeah,
stretched or twisted or compressed.
Yeah, but that is a great question. I think because sometimes I feel the same way. People are like, I don't want to use it because it's so valuable. But it's actually very durable.
Yeah, it is. That's the reason why they still use it for harness and for so many applications, because we didn't yet come up with anything closer to real leather.
It can't be replicated.
There are attempts, but they're not good enough.
So in terms of even if you have an organizer, you get this for your organizer for a book cover, the care that's needed is just basically don't drop it in a
Exactly.
bucket of water
Yes.
or don't drop the wine on it. Basically, like you would treat any other good that you have, like the shirt you're wearing and stuff.
The beauty of natural leather also is that it starts to look better with time. I guess this patina from handling, it absorbs oils from your hands, and it does look better.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if I was noticing that, because my watch, for example, this band, right? So when you first buy them, they're very light,
Yeah.
and then over time,
They get
because you
darker
wear
and
so much
darker.
oils from your body, etc., it gets like you said, a patina that is just beautiful, and I suspect that that's going to happen with that type of leather.
You both have some fans. Jenna Stambos says, woo, woo.
Oh.
She's very excited to see you on the show today. Thanks for
Yay,
watching
yay, Jenna.
today, Jenna. So you definitely, you've got some fans of foited leather here today. Thanks for watching the show.
Of course, I mean, look at
Of course, I mean,
that type of work. That's just it really is amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
So now, before we let you go, where can people find you if they want to see your goods and buy them?
So first of all, locally here in Charlottesville, they can come to our shop. It's how to explain where it is.
Well, it's 310 Unit C,
Second.
2nd Street Southeast, right across the glass building where the Paradox Factory is.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Okay. From Paradox Pastry. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're just next to Sidetracks
Yeah,
as
Sidetrack
well, which is a
Music.
music shop.
Okay.
So that area. So this will be easy for everyone in Charlottesville. But also Instagram, which is Foytik Leather, Foytik, Foytik Leather. Very simple. And the same with Facebook.
And which is our
Yeah.
Foytik.com. So Foytik.com,
gosh.
Foytik. But for those in Charlottesville, definitely go check it out. Even more, Kiri Burdan says, we love Foytik leather. And Emily Boardman says, fantastic goods. So definitely be sure to check it out. They're both online and here in Charlottesville. You'll find it right across from Paradox Pastry, which is actually very easy to get to.
It is.
It's very close to where the city market used to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't know if it has returned there yet, but if it does return to that area, go to the city market and then cross the street, and you'll find
There you
Foytik
are.
leather there. Daniel, Alisa, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us
It's
today.
been a
a lot
pleasure.
of fun to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for
It's been a learning
having us.
experience. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Great work, really.
Yeah.
This has been
a
great.
fun
I
show.
know, it really has. I mean, I just love when I see this kind of artisanship. Wow, it's just amazing. It really
Exactly,
is.
yeah. It's just so impressive, and just between Kate and then Daniel and Alisa, just the passion for doing something special, the memories it brings back. And
Well, I also was. I mean, to me it was incredible, right? That he didn't have any formal training, right? He just did that on his own. I mean, it just comes. It's like you're born with that type of talent. I think, right? Because
it's in the blood, obviously.
it's in the blood,
It's in the blood
absolutely,
there.
exactly. Because
But
it's,
and then a lot of work, I can imagine,
Yeah.
to do that and learn it. And just said, the beautiful entrepreneurship here in Charlottesville.
That's
we're-
right.
I mean, we're constantly finding more.
that's right.
I
Every
mean, it helps
once
to
in a
have our
while.
social media ninja, Nick, who,
Oh, it
who
certainly
finds
does,
them,
yeah,
who helps
yeah.
find entrepreneurs for us.
That's right.
But just-
We got to
it's
give him some
amazing.
kudos, right? I mean,
We have to give him, we have to mention him every once in a while. We would much rather mention Michael, but every once in a while,
every once in a while we have to
say and say, okay, yes, he was involved in Today Manana show. But just a fantastic show, just to show you what's out here in Charlottesville.
Yes.
And the ways in which you can combine, especially in this community, but also in the United States, an artistic passion.
sure. I mean, look at their reach. I mean, California,
Exactly.
Florida, New
Which
York.
is entrepreneurship.
Wow.
All the ways to
Yeah.
market yourself.
Yes.
Instagram, Facebook.
Beauty of technology. I have to admit.
The beauty of
Yes.
technology as
Yes.
we are learning. I mean, people are watching us today on
That's
on
right.
Facebook
Exactly.
to see it. So just so amazing and really exciting and just good to see. Good
Yeah.
to see here in
Yeah.
Charlottesville. And so, I mean, I know we have NetGrid. We will have more exciting guests. Then Nick is on the way of painting.
So he's working hard.
He's working.
That's right.
you
He's
know,
got some secrets.
He has.
He doesn't always tell us
he-
everything.
He doesn't always.
It's just
tell us.
amazing.
Sometimes I think he likes to surprise us.
That's right.
And be like, oh no, I'm not.
I'm not going to tell you what's
mention-
next week. It's like,
Yeah,
what do you mean? It's our show. You got to
You guys
tell
are gonna
us.
have to figure out before it
I
starts.
think he wants a raise.
when
That's what it is.
Oh, exactly. He's bribing us, and we like.
Is that what
if you want
you
to
can't
know,
say bribe because he can get arrested for bribing,
you can do-
Arrested- yeah, bribing,
Can you
no?
get arrested for bribing your
I'm
own
sure.
company? I
Even
don't
more
know.
so.
Even
I mean,
more
I would think so.
To bribing your brother and your
Your brother's
father's,
different,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
But
I
your
don't know.
father-
That's questionable whether you can do that.
But yeah, it's going to
another-
be interesting
gonna be
next week.
another
Yeah,
fun
it's
show.
going to be
There's
fun. I know it
It's
is.
fun every week.
It is.
We enjoy it every single week.
Yeah.
It's always exciting to have new.
Yeah.
new
Actually,
faces.
it's funny. I mean, when we first started, I was nervous, right? It's like, oh boy, it's Thursday. I have to go up there and start saying things, but now it's like I look forward to it. It's like it's like I wake up saying, oh great, this is Thursday. It's today, mañana, and I
Exactly.
get to interview people that have enormous talents. It's just it's good.
It is. It's a
enjoy
lot
it.
of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And yeah, so we'll see everyone next week for that.
We will.
For another exciting show of today.
Rain or
Mañana.
shine, we'll be here.
Exactly. As always, we are presented by Emergent Financial Services, and as always, we are powered by Tristel Noel.
That's right.
State Farm, which is, I mean, she is continuing to inspire. Every time I look, there's a new.
Something new came
There's
up.
something new that came up
That's right.
that's going on at Tristel Noel State Farm, and if it's not an award, it's.
She's a hard
staff
worker.
member,
She focuses very hard on
Yeah.
her business, and it's
Focuses-
just service oriented, which we always talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key. She just does such a good job servicing her
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. And when we've talked
And
about it,
making
it's
sure.
not just selling. It's basically trying to figure out what do
you
you
actually
need,
need.
exactly,
Exactly.
and what's the best package for you. right?
Exactly. And
It's
that's
not
what
one
makes
size fits
Tristel
all.
so unique
Yeah.
that she really
Exactly.
sits down and says, "What do you actually need?"
That's right.
And then we'll work on getting this together.
Yeah.
So that such a fantastic, another inspirational story herself.
That's right, it is.
Cristel Noel,
It
State
is.
Farm Agency. And of course, we are always partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville. Be sure
Which
to
hopefully,
keep an eye out.
that's right.
Be sure to keep an eye out in your inboxes. You can always, of course, subscribe to the Forward Adelante newsletter.
That's right.
At forwardadelante.org, also forwardvirginia.com, whichever is easier for you to remember.
And who knows, maybe we'll have
Keep
some
an eye peeled,
events.
'cause I think there's some events.
Okay, good.
Just putting a hint out there, there may be some events coming down the pipeline for Forward Adelante now that we are getting back to meeting. in
Now you're on the
person.
hook, though. You realize that. Now you're on the hook.
Now I'm on the
now
hook
you got
for
to create
for
something
these
here.
amazing Forward Adelante events. But they are on their way back, and so be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for our show next week on Today Mañana. As always, we love to be here on the set of the I Love CVO Network. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Judah, for always making things run smoothly. He is the reason we look good. And
It's why I come here on Thursday. It's Judah, and I mean, he just
you
makes
really
my life
just
easy.
come to see Judah and say hi to him, and then say hello to Liza.
Liza,
I mean, Liza is your real.
is my love. Yeah,
Judah's dog
Yeah.
Liza is your real.
Absolutely.
passion
It's a real
here on the
passion of
set.
coming here. Yes.
I mean, you walk in and you're like, hey Jerry, hey Judah, Liza, I'm so happy to see you.
And she's happy to see me too.
She's-
That's the
she's happy-
key.
I mean, to be fair, she's the happiest to see you too.
I know that.
So I mean, it's reciprocal. It's reciprocated. It's not. It's a requited love there. But as always, we love to be on the set here, and as always, we love you, our audience. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to join us next week. And until then, we will see you. Hasta mañana.